What is going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of Commercial Roofing Radio. We got an inventor in the house today. I think it might be the first inventor on the show, which is pretty exciting. Right, we got Chad Hedrick. He is the inventor of the Roof Rabbit, right? Which for those of you in commercial roofing, if you're doing coatings, it's a no-brainer. I'm sure we'll talk about it. Increase productivity, get rid of that back fatigue, spray more efficiently. It's lightweight, and it is made in America. He is also
right in the heart,
right in the heart of America.
That's right.
And he is also the host of the Roof Coating Life podcast, setting contractors up for success in the fluid applied roofing industry. So make sure you're checking out his podcast as well after this. He's giving marketing, sales methods, equipment acquisition, installation tips, anything that you're really going to need to know for the fundamentals, right, to be successful in the commercial roofing coating space. So, Chad, my friend, what is going on, dude? Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
You bet. I appreciate it. This is, like I said, we talked about me being on the podcast. I'm not normally on this side. I'm normally on the other side trying to talk to other guys, not the one being interviewed. So this is a little different for me. Life's good. Life's good and busy.
Yeah, what's crazy actually is for the Start Build Grow show, I interviewed you. I don't know if you remember this. It was maybe 2 or 3 years ago now. It was
probably 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's crazy, man. And I've honestly been following your journey ever since. So Chad, of course, I just got off of your podcast, and you were dropping some knowledge. And I was getting super excited. Some of the stuff you're talking about, coatings and everything like that. How did you get into the roofing space first off, and then we'll kind of go from there?
Actually, ironically, it's kind of a fluke, but I actually was a civil engineer, and I was actually designing the ADA accessible elevators for all the county courthouses in the state of Missouri. Well, in those old buildings, you got 3- and 4-story buildings. Most of them were 3-story buildings. Well, that third floor was always weird. It could be a 6-foot height. It might be 10 foot. You just didn't know what the height was, depending on how they used it. They just didn't design them to be like really efficient. So a lot of times they were short, and we would blow through the roof to put the shaft for the elevator in, and you might get into EPDM, mod bit, metal, old built up, coal tar. You didn't know what the heck you were going to get into when you dove into these buildings, because some of them were, 1800s, early 1900s. Well, we had to come up with something as an engineering firm that could kind of be a cure-all, that at least could get a building in the dry, so the contractor doing it until the funds were available, if it wasn't there originally, to do either a re-roof or a final, basically permanent solution. And so here, as an engineer, I'm looking at this spec book that's like 4 inches thick, and I'm just scrolling through there, and I see this product, and it talks about fluid applied with a fabric reinforcement. I'm like, wait a second. So I start looking at all the things it can go over, and I'm like, hey, you just named all the things that I've got to go over as a potential, substrate. So we started speccing this product. Fast forward almost 2 years, the company I was working for got a little behind on payroll taxes, unbeknownst to any employees. And the next thing you know is they're 7 paychecks late. So it's kind of hard to get up and go to work every day when the guy still owes you for the last 6 paychecks. Mm-hmm. So I started looking at other avenues, and I ended up going to work for a contractor installing, building commercial bridges that I had actually helped also in the engineering firm design. So that kind of was going, well, that lasted about a month, and I ripped a back muscle on a concrete, like a 500-yard concrete pour. So I was laid up, had this torn back, and just as a few weeks into it, I went to a trade show just to get out of the house. I just couldn't stand it. And I came across a guy with a booth that had commercial coatings there, and got to talking to him. And he's like, hey, he kind of mentored me and said, hey, I'd be willing to help get you set up. And I'm 25, or at that time, about 25, single, had nothing to tie me down. So I'm like, hey, this looks like something I can do on nights and weekends. And that's kind of what I'll make a little extra money. Well, that was the fall of 2002 or 2001, sorry, and or 2000 range. And I started that. I made more money in about 14 days than what the engineering firm owed me for 6 paychecks. And I'm not the most brilliant, but I was like, wait a second. Deer season's coming up really soon. So you're telling me I just made enough money compared to last like 3 months of work. I know where this is going. So 25 single, playing 150 softball games a year. I was living life, making way more money than I ever should have. And so I decided right then and there, I think I can do this. And so that's what started me. And I've done nothing but fluid applied systems for the last 22 years.
And so I'm guessing when it came to inventing the roof rabbit, was that basically you just solving your own problems then when you've been in the business?
Yeah,
Talk about that.
So honestly, it was only about 3 or 4 years into business. We landed this big 1,200 square SSR, and we was up there. Me and my brother was up there, and we got to looking at it, and we're like, well, you'd code an area, and you'd swear no matter how good you held that wand and walked it, you're like, we got the backside of those ribs, we're good. You come back the next morning, and it looked like, it looked like a blind man that had one leg sprayed it because there's light spots and everything. It's like, and we swore that we done a good job. We've been spraying for years. It's like, dadgum, how do we? So I was joking with my brother. I was like, you know what? I'm going to run over to Home Depot and I'm going to build a cart that sprays both sides. And he was like, yeah, whatever. You talk about all this junk you're going to do and you never do it. He said, basically what you're saying is you're going to leave me here to spray while you go out and sit in the air-conditioned truck. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. So I went and I bought every piece of aluminum Lowe's and Home Depot had, every spray tip I could find. And we went home and grabbed the TIG welder and just started welding up this Frankenstein version. And we took it up and we sprayed that roof in 4 days, the two of us, and didn't have to go back and hit but maybe a dozen light spots. And, I was like, wait a second. That like literally cut what we would have done in half, if not more. And then thankfully we got it done because right after we got done, we had some weather come in. It was late in the fall. We didn't get to coat for like the next 8 or 10 days. So, we finished our job and got paid when if we'd have been doing it the traditional way, that'd have turned into a 3-4 week longer process because of weather and stuff. So, we kept it. Next 2 or 3 years, we used it on a couple, 500,000 square feet. I don't know. But it was big, bulky, heavy as heck. And the guys just got sick and tired of cleaning and messing with it. Well, it kind of got thrown in the trailer and ended up going in the back of the shop. Well, fast forward about 15 years, and we had a big recoat on a spray foam job. And at that time, like I said, I was doing a lot of training for manufacturers, and I had like 6-7 contractors come to this job. And they're all, learning some coating stuff. And I pulled this out for top coat, and they're like, the heck is that? I'm like, don't even look at that. That's just my little toy. And, they're like, no, what is that? We're interested. I'm like, no. And I had no interest in nothing. That was just my baby. So I told I was like, yeah, that's what we call the roof rabbit. And jokingly enough, we call it that because an old Amish guy stopped by one day and saw us going back and forth on this metal roof. And in his German accent, he said, you look like a rabbit stuck behind a fence. You just run back and forth. You don't have a clue where you're going. You're just back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, so we're a roof rabbit then? He goes, yep, that's what I'd call you, as a roof rabbit. And that's seriously how the name stuck. And that was literally 15 years ago. So, well, when we fast forward, like I said, these guys saw it. I didn't think nothing of it. Well, again, fast forward about another 3 years, and my phone rings, and the guy's like, hey, I would like to talk to you about that piece of equipment. And I'm like, I don't have nothing for sale, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, well, he said some spray cart. I'm like, no, I ain't had nothing for sale. In 2-3 days, I got 6 calls out of the blue. From nobody, have no clue where they came from. And I started tracking this down. Well, come to find out, one of the guys that was there, this is back, like I said, flip phone days. One of the guys there had taken a little 10-second video of us using this old generic one we had. And it somehow got onto somebody's right page and just started getting shared. And I had all these guys calling. So the wife's like, hey, why don't you see what it takes to, recreate it? I'm like, no, I'm not worried about it. Well, she won. And I spent the next 3 days looking around, finding out manufacturers and what we could do. We got version 1 out and kind of had it tested for a little bit. And we've done a lot of changes where it's foldable and collapsible and adjustable and all this stuff. And it can be recreated down to the degree because of all the jigs that we have made. And literally that was kind of our little, we was like, I don't know if somebody will buy them or not, but we kind of done a little pre-sale, and we sold a couple dozen before I even had them built. I'm like, okay, now this is getting real. And so now here we are 3 years into it, and it's basically replaced my entire roofing business. We've kind of taken our roofing business and almost dropped it to nothing. And it's kind of our future, basically. It's what are looking forward to.
Well, congratulations, man. Yeah, you can just hear the passion and excitement in your voice too. So that's always really cool to see. So what was the hardest part of inventing a product or marketing the product? I mean, that entire process. What do you think was like the biggest challenges?
The patent process is because this is easy explained. It's called the U.S. Patent Trademark Office. So that means it's a government entity.
It means it takes some time to do anything.
We're still waiting on a response for one of our claims, and I'm 36 months into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we had the government shutdown in there. We had COVID in there. We had a new president in there. All of those things. Every time that happens, there's a shakeup in every governmental office. And so it just gets pushed and pushed and pushed. And so it's just been, that's probably been the most frustrating part of it. It's like, man, just give me the piece of paper. There's nothing else that, we've proved everything. There's nothing else that shows anything like it. And then honestly, like I said, I guess you could say getting the true street credits out there, because you got a lot of guys who are using it. Well, the social proof or social credibility, a lot of guys are like, oh yeah, that's just the same roof being in different pictures and all this stuff. I had the amount of hate mail, which is hilarious. Why I would get hate mail for inventing something, I don't know, but I had dozens upon dozens upon dozens of guys sending me direct messages and emails about, junior high. I swear I was in junior high girls. It was unreal, the stuff that I still get it to this day. Social media posts message me about how dumb that I waste all the time on this. And so I just sit back and laugh about it. I'm like, that's fine. But so the social proof was a little bit, but now when you got companies like Tech America, Cinemark, Sutter Roofing, some of the largest names in roofing all have my equipment. I kind of just sit back and I just let those guys say what they want. I just sit on the other side and laugh about it. I'm like, that's fine. You just think what you want.
That's a pretty cool feeling, though, right? When some of the biggest, most successful companies in the country are utilizing a tool that you invented, especially if you've been in the industry for so long, too. Now, I got to ask,
right.
Why, you talk to contractors, and we touched on this on your podcast, but what's the deal with some guys where they don't give the fluid applied roofing space any credit or even give it as a chance as a potential solution? What's the deal there?
Well, the biggest issue, it's kind of a double-edged sword. The Achilles heel of the fluid applied industry is the fact of it's a low entry point, so you can get into it fairly easily. It doesn't take a whole lot of in-depth credit. There are in-depth credentials or training. There's a few things that need to be followed, obviously, that are easily taught. But on the other side of that is a lot of the manufacturers have came out with their own consumer grade products. They sell them in any of the warehouses, any Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, any supply houses. And so a lot of guys who are, just to be honest, chucks in a truck type of things, they're willing, they'll go out there and buy that product, a cheap product out there, and go apply it incorrectly over substrates that shouldn't be, or don't prep it or don't prime it. So there's a lot of failure because of a lot of the ways that things are done. There's not a lot of, the industry doesn't do a lot of policy or policing itself to keep the riffraff out. So it's kind of been a double-edged sword. As the industry is growing, I see more of it coming out of manufacturers saying, hey, we're not just selling to everybody. Yes, we may have a product in a warehouse or in a supply house that is there, but the supply house is required to do a little more due diligence and not just sell it to anybody that walks off the street. And so because of, now the reason why I see it getting a lot more is because you got GAF, Carlisle, Firestone, all these companies that are single ply companies, Duralast, even Fibertite. I mean, all of this IB, they all now have their own version of coatings because we can't get single ply. So they're like, we're going to miss out on a lot of sales unless we can keep our contractors happy. So now they all of a sudden have coatings and, oh, wait a second, it's not as bad as we used to say it was because guys are now making money off of it. But that is the biggest issue, I think, is truly, and I see things I do see things in the future. I'll do a little foreshadowing for you. There is a few things in the future that are really going to help the whole industry as a whole unite on some credibility, some education, some certification, and those types of things as an industry as a whole, and allow the manufacturers to do what they're supposed to do, and that's make product, make quality product, and then let basically a trade association really train and really do the job that we need as an industry, because it's a valid industry. I mean, as I told you when we were talking, I got roofs that are 20 years old, never been recoated, and I can't even get them to let me recoat it. They're like, why? It doesn't leak and it looks fine. Why would we pay you to come recoat it? I'm like, well, your warranty's like 5 years out. Sure you don't want to recoat it?
Yeah.
Because we'd like to have the easy job of recoat. We already done the hard work, dude. Let us recoat it. But they're looking at me like, no, not yet. It might be in a couple of years. Like, dang it, come on.
No, that's cool. So
there's, like I said, there's a difference between coatings and a fluid applied roofing system.
Well, okay, let's say this too then. So let's say that I'm a commercial roofing contractor that's not quite yet using anything with fluid applied roofing, right? Just not involved in the space. And I'm interested now. What's kind of like my next step? So how should I view that as a tool or, a solution that I can offer for my clients?
Well, one thing that fluid applied brings to the table is you have the ability with just a couple products to literally go in and do a service or repair system on just about any substrate out there. I mean, I don't care if you give me mod bit, TPO, EPDM, PVC, CPSE, any of your single plies, metal, whether, whatever profile it is, just about any substrate, I can go in with a proper cleaner and a proper primer if needed and a fluid applied and do a repair just about any day of the week. I mean, if it is, even if it's pouring down rain, we have products that we can actually apply during the middle of the rain underwater and they will adhere perfectly fine. So we have the ability to, and it's not an asphalt base, which, the asphalt base is a problem with those is a lot of times the oils leach out of them and they dry and they crack. These are going to stay flexible. So that gives you a huge entryway when it comes to service and repairs. Then you turn around and when you go to do these R&Rs, you built those relationships or you've already got those relationships and you go to somebody and they say, hey, we've got this, 800 square building and we're having some roof issues and we know the building's getting this old. We're really looking at, and let's say it's a metal roof and they're like, we don't really need any insulation because we're fine there, but we are starting to have leaks and we really need to do something. Well, you can go under two options. You go in there with a quality fluid applied system and give them a 15, 20-year option, or you can go in with a layover with insulation and TPO and all that. Well, you've done a couple things. With this fluid applied, we're still at one roof system. It's not classified as a second roof system because we don't have the weight. So that gives you an option there that's also going to be lower cost, and you're going to have just as, if not higher, margins on the fluid applied as you are on a single ply. You have less liability because you're not doing a tear off, or you're not doing any type. You're not putting a couple 100,000 penetrations into screws into a roof. You don't, and then you don't automatically set that building up. Let's say if a hailstorm comes through the next spring, if you put a single ply over that, they're done. They got to take the single ply off, and they're going to take the metal off. Yes, I know guys are going to be like, oh, well, that's what insurance pays me for. Well, I understand that, but let's be honest, that sucks. I don't care if you make money at it or not. Tearing off a single ply off of a metal roof to turn around and put a metal roof back on, and if insurance even paid for it, a single ply back over that ain't no fun.
No.
Now, if you were to put a single or a fluid applied on that, then they come in if they get a hailstorm. Well, then you have two options. You can turn around and do another fluid applied over that. Yes, there is the aesthetics damage or some dents, Or now they can actually do a single ply over that. You have that option. But if you do it up the front, they're done. And so you have that ability of that, along with it gives that kind of good, better, best option with your building owner. You give them an option that, hey, we can give you another 10, 15, 20 years right here with a flood applied. Very, very low, destruction or any type of interruption with your building. And then we can come over here and do this. It's our Cadillac system of, put a 60 or 80 mil TPO and all that over there with more insulation. So you give them, it gives you an option. I've had guys the guys that we've consulted with, when they've incorporated giving a flood applied option on every roof my mind, a flood applied should go on every roof. And I stop. That is suitable. Not every roof is suitable. I would say maybe 60% of the jobs that we come across are actually suitable for a flood applied. That's the problem with the industry also is a lot of these reps, a lot of these guys promote, if it stands still, coat it.
What is the rule? What is the rule, would you say? What's the right fit?
Well, I mean, the biggest issue is actually going through and actually doing a, truly classify that roof and say, does it meet? Does it have good drainage? What kind of repairs have been done on it already? Has it already been tried to be limped along for 10 years and it's just trying to revive a dead horse? Do we have any type of saturation? Because if you put a single ply over, you might be able to do some venting and get a little bit of moisture out. If you have any water and you put a fluid applied over it, it's done. If you put a silicone, you're going to cause blistering or you're going to drive moisture down and cause the deck to disappear. If you put acrylics on and you have any moisture, then you're going to turn around and watch it completely disbond and come off. And then, of course, the fluid applied is going to get the bad name when it had nothing to do with it. It just used incorrectly. I mean, that's like using a Ferrari to plow a field. Yeah, it's got a lot of horsepower and four wheels, and it might be able to pull a farming implement, but that ain't the right job for the right tool for the job. And so that is the biggest issue is looking at doing pool tests, making sure we can get good adhesion, doing an infrared scan, make sure we don't have moisture. There's a lot of different steps that can go in, making sure that is actually a suitable roof for a flood applied. And like I said, roughly 60% of our jobs are actually suitable. The rest of them, I just have to tell people that's not suitable for a coating, or that building's not suitable for anything but a complete tear off.
No. So then, do you actually do the training too? So do you actually provide consulting on some of this stuff on how to implement this in your business, or is that not really part of what you do?
No, yeah, I actually have a consulting business. We also do consulting side. We've kind of got a couple different things. We do the manufacturing of the equipment with the company called the Roof Rabbit, or RRC. Then I actually have, if you can see here, the roof coating life, and then we have what's called RCL Consultants, where we actually do consulting with roofing companies across the country on implementing flood applied systems. We're finishing out the build out of a kind of an online training portal, and then we're also we are manufacturer's rep for multiple different manufacturers. So if a guy says, hey, I need some silicone or what do I need? And I say, hey, a silicone would be your best bet. And then we help them on everything from pricing to implement. And then I also have inside my consulting, I have an entire network of contractors, being that I've been in the business for 20 years, and this is all we've ever done. So I have connections all over the U.S., and literally typically within 24 to 48 hours, I can have a contractor that if a guy says, hey, I got 200 squares in Nashville, I can make 2 phone calls and have it set up for a guy ready to install it for them, and they still make a profit. The sub does a quality job. They're held liable because they know they went through me. And I mean, I don't mean this to toot my horn or nothing else like that, but they know that if they went through me and they do a crappy job, they'll, for one, never work for me or any of my guys again. And if I wanted to be horrible, they wouldn't work for very many guys at all very, very easily, because I've just been blessed to have a lot of connections in the industry.
And yeah, super smart dude, right? So if you guys are curious about learning more of that, make sure you're checking him out. You can also go to roofcoatinglife.com, his podcast. You can get the Roof Rabbit there, his contact information, everything's be there. So make sure that you're getting in touch with him for sure. I mean, do you have any biases or tips on like what what product lines or anything like that you're really confident in, or you're not really pick?
I'm known to be very, very outspoken on some of that. Actually, I am one strictly because I've had such success with acrylics. If it has a slope to it, about 90+% of the time, if it's got positive drainage and everything else, we use some sort of an acrylic. We got a handful of different acrylics that we use. We typically use an acrylic. We only use silicones on low slope stuff, like, a lot of, like, down in Florida. It's mod bits on half 12 or quarter 12 pitches or dead flat. You can't use acrylic there. You have to use a silicone or a urethane / or a polyurea. We use a couple different ones there, but we're probably 80% acrylic on anything that has slope, and those other 20% of things, like, because geography also comes into it. I'm not going to tell a guy in the port of Houston or down in in Miami or thing that, hey, you should use acrylic because it's slope. Well, he might only get 4 hours in a day before he gets a rain, and if he does that, he may lose product. So, we have to look at geography, and everything else also is an issue. So we work on that, is another thing that we do. But outside of that, that's one of the things, is just knowing the roofing systems, knowing what's out there, and knowing what really suits where they're at. Same thing with spraying. I've got some roofs that would have been awesome for acrylic, but there's absolutely no way would we spray it. So we end up doing a rolling system or a cart system with a silicone, because putting it on, it was more efficient to do it that way, because rolling acrylics doesn't work really well on, like, metal roofs or nothing like that. It's just the viscosity and everything else. You can't keep consistent mill thickness rolling acrylics unless you add about 10 to 15% extra to go over. So that is a rough thing there.
Yeah, you think this guy knows a thing or two about coatings? Come on, man. He lives, he breathes it. You got to get in touch with this dude for sure if you're interested to learn more. So I got a game lined up for us, but before the game, is there anything else that you want to leave the viewers with regarding coatings or things like that? Tips, tricks, advice, anything?
Just the one thing is be careful on exactly some of the claims that either manufacturers, reps, or other contractors are out there, because it is a viable system if used as an actual system. There is no cure-all. Anybody says this is the best is, just to be honest, is probably wet behind the ears in the industry, because there is no one thing that's the best. Like I just said, geography, type of roofing system, rooftop traffic, location of, wherever. There's a lot of things that come into play, and picking the best system is something that takes a little bit of experience. And that's one thing, is make sure the guys you're working with have at least put some boots on the ground, and have, for one, put their neck on the line at one point in time. Some of the best reps are successful contractors. I've seen a lot of reps that were like, hey, I used to be a contractor. Well, you find out they done it for like 3 years and they quit because they weren't very good at it. So only reason I went from the contracting to the consulting side is because I'm 20 plus years into it, and my body just don't want to do it no more. I'm getting old.
I don't know, man. I think you got soft on me once you became an inventor, man. No, I'm joking.
Well, that did not hurt. I promise you. That is for sure. My knees don't hurt near as much making calls as they do climbing a ladder.
You're telling me, hey, this is
weird. This is that true.
This was your opportunity to take a stab at the marketing guy that sits behind a computer, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, but I couldn't do that either. I can't. I don't mind it some now, but I can't do it as much as I thought I'd love it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm too much of as I joke with my wife, I'm too much of a redneck. I got to get outside. I got to get up there and smell it a little bit. Get some coatings on me every once in a while.
Oh, I love it, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you joining me. We got the next segment of the game is going to be Who Wants to Be a Roofing Millionaire? Oh, hey there. You come here often? I feel like I see you every Wednesday. And, you definitely caught my eye. I'll tell you one thing. You know how to stand out from a crowd. You already got a lot of great things going for you. I mean, I see your company. I see what you got going on. I want to be part of it. You know, how about I give you my number and you send me a text? 720-796-4935. Hey, yeah, it's Nick, right? Peakleads.io. I think we can help you generate some commercial roofing leads. Looking forward to chatting. Talk soon. All right, so basically we got 5 questions for you that are, based off of who you are, roofing, all this kind of stuff, right? And we got 2 lifelines. So we have 50-50, which will remove 2 of the wrong answers, leaving you with a 50% chance of getting it right. And then you also have phone a friend. So you can call anybody you want. If they don't pick up, you lose the lifeline. All right. So the first one is you're the roof coating king, right? Roof coatings in general has grown drastically in popularity over the years. How much do you think the estimated market size for roof coatings in the U.S. is this year? Is it 4.5
for 2022?
Mm-hmm. 4.5 billion.
Okay.
So we got A, 4.5 billion, B, 600 million, C, 2.5 billion, or D, 100 million.
In America or total
U.S.
across?
U.S.
Depends on who you ask, but
oh yeah.
It depends on who you follow, but the coatings industry is definitely in the billion-dollar industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go with the A.
That is correct. $4.5 billion. Unbelievable. That sounds like a great opportunity. All right. So now we got a Missouri question. All right. This one is going to be a tough one, I feel like, here, unless you really know your history. You're located in Jefferson County. Which famous American pioneer had a part in helping establishing Jefferson City? Jefferson City, sorry. Is it A, Davy Crockett? B,
I just lost
George
all you.
Payton, C, Daniel Boone, or D, Kit Carson?
Are you there?
Oh, did I lose you for a sec? I'll mark that one. All right, did you hear the question?
You lost me.
Did you hear the question or no? You want me to repeat it?
I just heard something about Jefferson City's all I heard.
Yeah. So I'll ask that question again. All right. So for this question, we got some Missouri trivia. You're located in Jefferson City.
Uh-oh.
Which famous American pioneer had a part in helping establish Jefferson City? Is it A, Davy Crockett, B, George Payton, C, Daniel Boone, or D, Kit Carson?
Our signal's hoary. I heard Peyton on the second one, Davy Crockett, Peyton, and then I haven't heard the last two.
All right, so we have.
It keeps telling me that that Nick's Wi-Fi signal is.
Oh, really? All right. Well, it's all
it's
all good. We'll just redo it again. I'm sorry about that. So then we have the 4 answers are A, Davy Crockett, B, George Payton, C, Daniel Boone, or D, Kit Carson.
Oh man, I was an implant to Jeff City, so let me think about this one. I just went to college there, so man, that's one. I know 2 of the names sound dang familiar, but what was the Peyton's first name?
Let's see here. It was George.
George Payton, man. That sounds for some weird reason like I know that I've heard that name in Jeff City, but I'm an implant, so I might be in trouble here. I'm gonna go with Peyton.
Let's see here.
I may just lost it all.
Well, the correct answer is actually C, Daniel Boone. So, unfortunately,
Daniel Boone.
It's Daniel, but that's okay.
That was
It's okay because we keep the game going. We're here just for a good time, right? So, we got the next question. We're going back to commercial roofing. All right, what is the most commonly installed type of roof? Is it A, EPDM, B, TPO, C, SPF, or D, built-up roofs?
It would be TPO currently.
According to Danae, who makes it, she's saying EPDM. She said is the most commonly installed. I don't know if that's correct. Do you think that's incorrect?
I would. I'd have to throw a question up on that one.
Really? So we might have to go back to the drawing board on that one. You're saying, hey?
Danae may have me proven wrong, but I would have definitely said TPO.
Well, you know what? I'll look up and I'll make sure that we get confirmation on that to make sure. Okay, so for our next question here, we're going back to St. Louis here. We're going back to Missouri, all right? So the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, Missouri, how many feet tall is the arch? Is it A, 350 feet, B, 920 feet, C, 840 feet, or D, 630 feet?
Pretty sure it's D.
Let's see here. That is correct. The arch is 630 feet. My man, we got one more question. All right. So
here, I'll throw a kink back. I'll throw one back at you. How wide is it?
I have no idea. How wide is it?
630 feet.
Oh, is it? There you go. That makes sense. That's why it's an arch.
Yes.
Eh?
It's a true parabolic. It does not look it from the ground, but It is actually the same width as it is high.
Wow, that's crazy. I actually did not know that. All right. So this is the last question. All right. So I don't know if you're a Hockey's fan, but you got Stanley Cup winners in your backyard, right? The St. Louis Blues won their first cup in Game 7 in 2019. Who'd they beat, and what was the score? Was it the A, Blackhawks 3-1, B, Bruins 4-1, C, Lightning 4-1, or D, Avalanche 3-1?
The bad thing is the first two I know are I'm not a big hockey fan, but oh man, I remember the Blackhawks and the Bruins on both on side. I'm going to go with A, Blackhawks, just because we hate them so bad.
Well, you're going to hate them more because that is not the correct answer. It is B, Bruins, 4-1.
Is the Bruins?
To win the first cup.
It was one of the two. I was like, dang it.
Well, hey, my man.
I couldn't remember if it was the Blackhawk or the Bruins.
Hey, I'm going to have Danae reach out to you and get you a shirt here. So if you could do me a favor, what does this bad boy say here?
Look at there.
What do you got here? What do you got?
There you go. I like big roofs. That's awesome.
Give me come on, say the full thing for me. Come on, say it with some attitude. Say it with some attitude. Let's see what you got. I like big roofs and I cannot lie.
I like big roofs and I cannot lie.
There we go, my man. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much for joining us today,
That's
man.
Awesome.
We like to end it with one thing here. We end it with enlightenment. So give us something positive to end. It could be a book suggestion, a quote. It could be something that you're working on right now. End us with something positive so we can close this thing down.
Well, I don't have all my artwork up from my office yet, but I'm a big true country boy, so I like to hunt a lot, and I've always had this little slogan in my mind that I read somewhere. I don't remember but it was about basically that an arrow can only be shot by the force of pulling back the bow. So there's got to be a force pulling it back to make it go forward. So it really fits with life about when you got the life resistance and things seeming to just constantly pull you back, that to always remember that if you just hold on long enough and you keep your aim, that you're always going to be propelled into something great. So that's something that as a redneck hunter, I always thought that was a pretty cool, that if I stuck with things long enough, no matter what was fighting me, no matter what, all the resistance that you had to get through, if you keep focused, keep your aim on the targets you're after, and if you stick with it long enough, all those forces are going to end up propelling you into something great.
So good, man. Well, hey, Chad, I really appreciate you. It's been great talking to you. Everybody out there, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.